Live, local, late breaking. You're watching KOLD News 13 live at 10.
Tonight, a compromise reached in an ongoing power struggle. We've been following the highly charged debate surrounding a proposal by Tucson Electric Power. Good evening to you. I'm Brooke Wagner.
And I'm Dan Maries. The project is set to strengthen the city's energy grid by adding a 138 kilowatt transmission line between TEP's Keno to DeMoss substations. But friction sparked over how the project will be completed.
Many residents want the lines underground and out of sight. The company is seeking a more cost-effective overhead option. Hannah Tita joins us from the historic Sam Hughes neighborhood, where a decision by the city council could move the project along. And Hannah, you've been following this story for quite a while.
Good evening. We start with late breaking news tonight. Tucson voters have spoken and they have voted yes on Proposition 411.
Despite high prices right now, Tucson voters put the conditions of our roads first and authorized a 10-year extension of the half-cent sales tax increase. Now here's a breakdown of those votes. Tucsonans overwhelmingly voted yes tonight, with no bringing in fewer than 20,000 votes. According to the city, 71,993 ballots were cast in this special election. That's just over 25% of Tucson's registered voters. And just to clarify, this won't actually raise your current taxes. It is extending the temporary sales tax increase that voters approved in 2017. The city plans to use the expected $740 million in revenue to improve neighborhood street conditions and support system-wide street safety projects. Supporters of the proposition, including Tucson Mayor Regina Romero, gathered at the Locale neighborhood Italian restaurant tonight to watch the results. And Mayor Romero called the vote an historic moment.
This, folks, what we did, what Tucsonans did, is historic investment never seen before. Historic investment in ourselves.
In addition to Prop 411 funding, the mayor and city council have also committed to spending $15 million annually through regular funding sources to improve roads throughout the city.
And Pima County leaders are already getting set for the primaries coming up in August. Today, they approved 15 early ballot drop-off sites. Those will also serve as emergency voting sites for the August 2nd primary, along with the general election in November.
Happening tomorrow, hundreds of high school students could walk out on a day of education to stand up for something they believe is much bigger: women's reproductive rights.
The planned protest is in response to a leaked draft opinion from the U.S. Supreme Court indicating abortions might be restricted in states like Arizona. KOLD News 13's Hannah Tita joins us live from Tucson High School. And Hannah, students from about a dozen high schools are planning to participate in tomorrow's rally, but only Tucson High students will march, correct? Tonight, Interstate 10 is back open near Eloy, northwest of Tucson, after a three-vehicle crash killed at least 3 people and injured several others. Good evening, I'm Dan Maries.
And I'm Brooke Wagner. That crash happened early this morning when a DPS trooper tried to pull over an SUV for a traffic violation. The SUV, carrying 9 people, led police on a chase before crossing the median and slamming head-on into an 18-wheeler. According to DPS, the driver of the SUV was an 18-year-old man. Several people were thrown out of the vehicle. 2 died at the scene, and another died at the local hospital.
Arizona DPS says several federal authorities, including Homeland Security, are now investigating the crash as a human smuggling attempt. This is just the latest incident, as the crime in Arizona has gone from bad to deadly in recent months.
As KOLD News 13's Bailey O'Carroll shows us, law enforcement says we are reaching a crisis level as this wave of human trafficking is putting more teenagers behind the wheel.
Our kids are grown up in a reality where this is a reality.
Preparing for the worst is the reality for educators here in Arizona and across the country after the Texas school shooting. Good evening. I'm Brooke Wagner.
And I'm Dan Maries. Tonight, the tragedy in Texas is sparking fear across the country. And one group right here in Tucson is training educators how to protect their students.
Tonight, we ask the question, where do we go from here? But before we can answer that, we have new details to share about the timeline of events in Uvalde.
Police say the gunman wrecked his grandmother's truck, in a ditch outside the school at 11:28 in the morning. He then shot at two people across the street as he made his way towards the school. He then approached the school, walking in through an apparently unlocked door. That was at 11:40. Officers reportedly arrived on the scene at 11:44, but when they confronted the gunman, they received fire and they ran and took cover. The shooter barricaded himself inside a classroom for up to an hour before Border Patrol agents arrived on scene. Despite this timeline from law enforcement, questions remain about the actions of police on scene.
New video has emerged of parents outside the school as the shooting is happening, begging officers to go inside and try to take down the shooter. A warning: you may find this unsettling.
No gun violence! No gun violence!
The group, Students Demand Action, was behind the call for the nationwide walkouts, and students of all ages answered. Students at Michigan's Oxford High School formed a massive U on their football field nearly 6 months after a fellow student opened fire there, killing 4. High school students in Arlington walked to a nearby park, where they held a 21-second moment of silence for each victim killed in Texas. And the student-led demonstration March for Our Lives, which took place after the massacre in Parkland, Florida, has announced another massive march to be held on June 11th in Washington.
Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, lawmakers have left town for a week-long Memorial Day recess after making little progress on gun control legislation. 4 Republicans joined 5 Democrats for a working lunch today to see if they could find some middle ground on legislation, but reached no solution. And today, the Senate blocked a bill designed to combat domestic terrorism. The Democrat-controlled House passed the legislation last week following the terror attack in Buffalo, but Senate Republicans call the bill partisan and unnecessary. In the wake of the Texas tragedy, at least 3 musicians have backed out of a concert at this weekend's NRA convention in Houston. Don McLean, famous for his song American Pie, said it would be disrespectful and hurtful for him to perform. Larry Gatling of the Gatlin Brothers also canceled, saying he can't perform in good conscience. He said he agrees with most of the NRA's positions, but he's come to believe that, quote, while a background check won't stop every madman with a gun, it's at least a step in the right direction. Larry Stewart, who contributed lead vocals in the band Restless Heart, is also opting out.
We start tonight with late-breaking news. At least 1 person has been shot on the University of Arizona's campus. We are expecting to learn more in minutes during a news conference, but first we want to get you right out to the scene where Allie Potter has been there for the past few hours. And Allie, what have you learned?
Well, Mary, I'm excited and really happy to tell you that the suspect is now in custody. The U of A PD has now confirmed that the suspect has been taken into custody. It's been quite the afternoon. A student even told me, hey, did you get the alert? Everyone, there's a little bit of relief, right? But we do need to remember that 1 victim is still in the hospital and their condition is unknown. I spoke with UAPD a little bit earlier, and by the way, they're going to be having a press conference very shortly, and we'll get to that in a second, though. But they did tell me that when police arrived, they did find somebody shot. It's unclear if that person was a man or a woman. That person was transported to Banner UMC, and it's unclear what their condition is right now. Now, I'm getting word that we are going live to the press conference, so let's take it from there.
The victim was shot. The suspect was initially described as a white male, about 5 feet 8 inches tall, 35 years old, with short brown hair and wearing a blue baseball cap.
Planned Parenthood is asking a state appeals court to move quickly to block enforcement of Arizona's near total ban on abortion. The agency has asked for an emergency stay while it appeals last month's Pima County Superior Court ruling that revived a territorial-era law banning abortions except to save the life of the mother. In a statement, Planned Parenthood Arizona CEO said, quote, given the chaos, confusion, and devastation that exists today around the status of Arizona's abortion laws, it is not surprising that more providers and physicians are seeking legal clarity. The appeals court has given the state attorney general until tomorrow to respond. The case does not yet have a hearing date, but the appeals court could rule on the stay soon after getting the state's response.
The summer surge in COVID cases may be about to catch up with Arizona. New data from the state health department shows test positivity is the highest it's been since the first Omicron surge. And things could be even worse than we think. Health experts say there's likely a large amount of cases going unreported because of at-home testing. The new BA.5 variant now accounts for about 60% of cases in Arizona, as it is highly transmissible. But the good news is it's not causing a big increase in hospitalizations or deaths.
People that are sick, it's more like a cold than it is very bad disease. However, if you are older, have chronic diseases, cancer, HIV, those things make you more susceptible and the virus could still kill you.
This means the younger population is less likely to get sick, which is good news as southern Arizona students prepare to head back to school soon. The sea otters at the Oregon Zoo are getting spoiled this week. Last night we showed you how they got to play with a snack and tons of ice. Well, tonight they've got some crabs. Zookeepers gave otters Lincoln and Juno the aptly named Una Sushi, some crab legs in their enclosure. As you can see, they're pretty big fans of that crab meat. The zoo says sea otters eat roughly 25% of their body weight in shellfish every single day. Boy, they're eating like kings. Look at that.
Better than I eat.
Yeah, me
that's
too.
Right.
I'm hungry for crab now.
For sure.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here tomorrow.